This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Xyzal. At night.
Disney Plus wants to know, are you ready?
Yes!
For Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers, now streaming on Disney Plus.
Let's do this.
One of the best Marvel movies of all time is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Hey, you weren't listening to me.
I said Thunderbolts, The New Avengers is now streaming on Disney Plus.
Meet the New Avengers.
That's a cool name.
Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, The New Avengers, rated PG-13, now streaming on, you guessed it, Disney Plus.
Who says you can't be the topic of conversation for all the right reasons? The Hyundai Tucson Hybrid pairs bold presence with advanced technology and sleek style. It's everything you didn't know you needed in an SUV and then some. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more.
At Starbucks, we've more than doubled paid parental leave, now up to 18 weeks. Which means Starbucks baristas can spend more time with the best company they know, their families. At Starbucks, benefits like parental leave are just the start.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Kelly Green Hour, as it is week 3 in the National Football League, where your Philadelphia Eagles, the 2-0 Philadelphia Eagles, are set to do battle in an NFC divisional round rematch against the 2-0 Los Angeles Rams. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, what's going on, bud?
You know, it's Friday, it's the weekend. We survived another work week, and we've arrived at another week of NFL football, Philadelphia Eagles football, most importantly, and more importantly. So, man, I'm doing good. I mean, life is life. Nothing exciting.
It's crazy that it's already week 3. Time flies by like real fast when it comes to the NFL. It never slows down, which is frustrating because we wait all year from the Super Bowl through free agency and the draft and all that to get to the NFL, and then it ends in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I felt like we waited for like years for the season to finally start, that time frame, and then here we are, and it feels like it's taken minutes for the season to start disappearing before our eyes. So really, you gotta take it in and enjoy. That's kind of the not so great benefit of a sport that it's a 17-game season. And plus the playoffs, you kind of lose the effect of 162 or 84 games, I think, for hockey this year, whatever it is.
That's why we live and die by every game when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we jump into this game, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJHarrell54. Follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcast at Eagles Pinpool Network. And if you're joining us live, let us know your thoughts in the chat. Your prediction, your keys to the game, your offensive player, your defensive player, and even your thoughts on the Tush Push, which is where we're going to start. I know we discussed it briefly on Tuesday, but the NFL came out with a memo sending it to all teams and the referees, saying to really dig down and call the play properly. And that means if somebody's offsides or if the offensive line is jumping, call a false start. And coincidentally, the head ref of this game for the Eagles and the Rams caused the most false start penalties. His crew caused the most false start penalties in the NFL. Is that a coinkydink, you think, Connor?
It sure does not feel like a coincidence. And you know what? It's unfortunate. Like we were talking before we came on, like this is such a split opinion, even in the national media. You'll hear like Jeff Saturday and Jason Kelsey and like former offensive linemen defend the play because they know how hard it is to be offensive linemen and how difficult and kind of the intricacies of it, like time, listening for the cadence, listening for the inflection and the change in your quarterback's voice, like a true respect for what it means to be an offensive lineman. So I feel like they have so much more respect for how hard this play really is to run without the refs watching over it like hawks, like they're going to probably do for the rest of the season. So, I mean, it's really unfortunate that it's reached this point, but I mean, we had to know and realize that there was eventually going to be a turning point throughout this season where the debate would be ramped back up. And of course, it's Kansas City Chiefs, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's a Super Bowl rematch, and it had to happen. And that maybe if we had to run it one or two less times, maybe we wouldn't be hearing about it because I think it was around, 7, 8 times. Maybe if we ran it a couple less times, we wouldn't be hearing about it to the same degree we are. But here we are. And like Jason Kelsey said, and I'm kind of in the same boat as him, he thinks this is the last year for the Tush Push.
Well, I think if everybody and all the TV stations didn't do a slow-mo version of it, the refs aren't watching this in slow-mo. You can't challenge a false start, which would allow the refs in a review situation to see it slow-mo. It's literally impossible. And if you wanted to call it correctly, the defensive line's offsides too, so it would be offsetting penalties if you really wanted to get down to the nuts and bolts of it all. And, and Jason Kelsey said, everybody's saying that Cam Jurgens is over the ball. Jason Kelsey was saying, as a center, you're allowed to be over the football. So Cam Jurgens isn't doing anything wrong. Chris Jones was offside multiple times, whether it was his helmet or his hand past the ball. So if you're going to call it by the letter of the law, call it by the letter of the law. And that means you're going to call it on both teams. And, who knows what's going to happen. I still want to see a game or at least a drive where that's the only play the Eagles run, but I want them to do that against Green Bay, just to be petty. But I do think that, since this probably is going, which I don't think it should be, I don't think it should be banned. Again, every team has the ability to run this play. If it was just one team that had the ability, okay, I can see it. Maybe you would ban it. But every team can run it. Just because they can't run it as successfully as the Philadelphia Eagles doesn't mean you go and ban this move or this play because you can't stop it. And, Al Michaels made a comment yesterday saying, there are a bunch of good teams that aren't interesting. And let's be honest, that was a shot at the Philadelphia Eagles. When he was talking about how exciting the Bills are, I didn't know winning had to be exciting. I don't care if it's a 3-2 win or a 28-27 or 41-40 type of win like the Bills had over the Ravens. I don't care. Winning is winning. And again, the question we ask, I feel like we ask every week, is when did winning have to become a bad thing? When? I don't give a crap how we win. It doesn't have to be exciting. It doesn't have to be thrilling. Just get the W. The Eagles have a very, very tough schedule this year. And over the next couple of weeks, they're going up against teams that they're going to potentially see in the playoffs that are going to be battling them for the number one seed in the NFC. Guess what? I don't care how they win the game. It doesn't have to be pretty. Somebody on VIP was saying, would you rather an ugly loss or would you rather have an ugly win or a pretty loss? And by pretty loss means Jalen goes out there and throws for 300 yards, but they lose the game. Or if Jalen goes out there and throws for $150 and they win. Which would you rather have? Hello? I'd rather have the win.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what really matters is W's, wins. That's what wins. It's not about when we talk about the Jalen Hurts and the rankings and quarterbacks. It's not about the individual stats. It's a team sport. It's a team game. You live and die and win and lose as a team. It's very rare that you can pinpoint just purely one play that is 100% ever the reason that a game is won or lost. There you can pinpoint multiple plays in every game and in every situation where a game could be won or lost, but you can never pinpoint one player exactly and one play exactly. And we're going to take the W's anyway. I'm never going to give a W back. No matter what anybody says, no matter what a talking media head says, or no matter what a fan says, if you get beat by the Eagles and it's ugly like the Chiefs did, they try and spin it their own way to kind of look like a victory, or it could have been different. Either they want us to give back the win. They would not give back the win if they won in an ugly fashion either. And nor should any team have to. A win is a win is a win, especially this early in the season. It's still really early. It's, Kevin Petula, it's another offensive coordinator coming in. The offense is going to look different again for Jalen Hurts and this Philadelphia Eagles team. I know, you're talking about other teams can run this play too. John Gruden over at Barstool literally had a video where he talked for, I think it was about 10 minutes, and he literally showed a clip. Josh Allen running it. Lamar Jackson running it. He literally went through and almost showed every quarterback in the NFL and every team trying to run this play, and to no degree of success, because it's a skill, and it's already pretty much everything has already been ruled out. It's not a rugby play. Jordan Mailata throw cold water on that over and over and over again. The injury fallacy is completely wrong. They're just fine. Now they're saying it's not pretty. There's a lot of plays in football that are not pretty, but they're not getting banned. There's it's just a reality of it. They just want it gone. And at the end of the day, if it means that we get to finally stop talking about it and we can move on from it. I remember the stat that was out there from last year when the ban looked like it was going to happen, and it showed the degree of success that Jalen Hurts has in a regular QB sneak scenario and a tush push scenario. And he is just as, if not more accurate, running it and getting the first down or get in the gain that he needs to get when QB sneaking. So if you take away the tush push, they're going to find another way to do things. We're already implementing a fullback. We're already doing things that are basically preparing for, maybe preparing for life after this play. I know the fullback came more into effect because Ben Van Sumer was super efficient, and it helped. It helped Saquon Barkley a lot, but I think that's another thing that's going to help them just become an even more effective short yardage team next year, with or without the tush push. But I mean, just like the Nick Sirianni stuff of last season, I am so ready to be done talking about when did winning stop mattering, the tush push, just the same things that come up over and over again in the media, just trying to discredit the Philadelphia Eagles as a team and the wins.
Yeah, exactly. My last point is what the Chiefs put out on their Twitter handle the other day, saying, we've held the Eagles to their lowest yardage output since the week 6 of the 2021 season or whatever it was. That's what loser organizations do. We're talking about a Chiefs team that has won 3 Super Bowls in the last however many years, won 2 of the last. That was sad. That's a Cleveland Browns thing to do. That's a Carolina Panthers thing to do. A New York Giants thing to do. That's not a Chiefs thing to do. And the fact that they put that out there was sad. All right, let's talk about this upcoming game, man. We talked enough about Tush Push. And again, my last thought, that the ref, don't be shocked if the Eagles do run a Tush Push. The first time they run a Tush Push, there's a flag. The mandate is out there. Roger Goodell has put his minions out there, the ESPN minions, the NFL Network minions, the Amazon Prime minions. They're all talking about it and pretty much talking down on it. So don't be shocked if the Eagles do run the tush push the first time that there's a flag called on it. That's my 2 cents on that. So we will move on from that, and we'll probably talk about it next week because there's bound to be something that happens in the game this week against the Rams. All right, Eagles, Rams, an NFC divisional matchup, and the Rams gave the Eagles their toughest game in the playoffs last year. And if it wasn't for Jalen Carter sacking Matt Stafford on that last drive, we might have had a different discussion in the offseason than the celebratory one that we had all offseason, and that led up to winning Super Bowl 59 in a glorious fashion over the Kansas City Chiefs. The Rams have made improvements at receiver. They replaced Cooper Kupp with Devontae Adams. Puka Nacua is a top 5 to 10 receiver in the league. I don't know if their offensive line, is okay. I don't know how. I don't think it's Eagles level of okay or Eagles level of good, but their offensive line can do the job, I guess I'll say. Matt Stafford, we'll see. He's coming in. We'll see what his back looks like if he takes a couple of hits from Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Zadarius Smith, and the Eagles front line. But what are your initial thoughts on the offense of the Rams and how they compare and how they will go up against the Eagles defense?
I think that the Rams have a very good, very viable offense. I think it's so far going to be the best offense that we face. There's major question marks with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then, of course, the Dallas Cowboys probably may have a better offense by the next time we see them. But I mean, it didn't look like a great offense starting out, and the offensive line obviously is a major concern there. But I mean, we are talking about a team that is not necessarily super uber effective from a statistical standpoint. They rank around the middle of the pack across the board offensively, but they have weapons that can make big plays and make plays happen when they need to happen. And that's the thing with this LA Rams offense. They're going to be opportunistic. They're going to take advantage of any opportunities they're given. Matthew Stafford's a quarterback you have to respect. He can throw the ball deep. He can throw the ball quick out of his hands if he sees an opportunity. He's going to take what the defense gives him, and he's going to take advantage of it, especially with guys like Puka Nacua. There's Tyler Higbee, there's Devontae Adams, there's Kyron Williams. Now Blake Corum kind of showed a little bit of something last week as well, find in the end zone for the LA Rams. They like to spread the ball out. They like to use all facets of their offense, and that's something that the Eagles may at times struggle with, because I understand CB2 looked pretty good last week because it was up against a team who's extremely frustrated with their current state of the wide receiver. So what are we going to see from the CB2 when they actually have to line up against Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams? I know that obviously Cooper DeJean's probably going to be tasked with one of those roles, and Kenyon Mitchell's going to be tasked as much as they can. But when they have the opportunity to take shots at a guy like Adoree Jackson, I can guarantee that the LA Rams are going to take those shots and they're going to try and take advantage. Whether it's Jordan Whittington or Tutu Atwell or Devontae Adams, whoever gets the opportunity to be on Adoree Jackson, that he's going to be tested, and we're going to really find out if, last week against a subpar wide receiving core, that we're starting to see Adoree Jackson come into his own, or are we going to see the Adoree Jackson of week one, and the reason that we think that we should be continuing to look for to cover off the CB2 position?
What are the chances you think that Sean McVay will try to force the Eagles into a base defense to have Cooper DeJean on the outside? I've always said I like Cooper DeJean in the slot because he's a really good tackler. He's really physical. He wants to get his nose in where all the work is, and you really can't do that on the outside. Do you think that maybe McVay and the Rams will go two receivers, maybe double tight, and have him go up against whether it's Nacua or Adams, and leave him further away from the line of scrimmage so that if they were to run it, he's not able to get his head in there?
I mean, it's definitely an interesting scenario to bring up, in a scenario that I could absolutely see Sean McVay having. And Sean McVay is one of the best offensive minds in football right now. That he's going to try and outplay Vic Fangio. And last season during the playoffs, he almost outplayed Vic Fangio. He almost ended up getting the W, but if not for, Saquon Barkley pretty much running all over them that game, I mean, who knows? But at the end of the day, Sean McVay's going to try some different things and see what he can do, see what he can take advantage of. Would Vic Fangio be willing to do that and risk putting him out there, or would he just throw Adoree Jackson out there? Like, it seems like he wants to throw Adoree Jackson at a wall and see if he sticks. We'll end up having to wait and see on that. But I mean, it's definitely something that I could see Sean McVay testing and seeing if Vic Fangio is going to play into the game and free up the box a bit with a guy like Cooper DeJean moving outside or not.
And maybe if he did do that, maybe DeJean will be the de facto third linebacker and put him with Ball and Campbell. Man, that's a crazy athletic linebacker crew if you include DeJean. A crazy stat. Sean McVay is 1-5, I think, or 1-6 against the Eagles. Everybody, remember when he got hired and everybody was talking about him being the offensive wonderkin and all this, and yet he struggled to beat Doug Peterson, and he struggles to beat Nick Sirianni's at 3-0 against him. Like, I get it. And I'm not saying Sean McVay's a bad coach, because he's not. He's very smart, and he's still super young, which is crazy to think about, considering I think this is year 9 or something like that for him, year 8 or 9 as head coach of the Rams. But like, the fact that the Eagles have had such success against him, and it's not like his teams have been all bad. They went to a couple of Super Bowls. They won a Super Bowl. Donald obviously was there. Aaron Donald. Eagles are one of the 2 teams in the NFL Aaron Donald has never had a sack against. Is that a surprise to you? I don't know if you heard that stat, but does that come as a surprise to you?
It definitely comes as a surprise to me because he's one of those offensive minds who, when he got hired, everyone thought, the Rams have been a very good. Even when the Rams lose specific players or certain situations come up, it feels like they're always able to overcome them and keep themselves close in the playoff race and always give themselves a shot to make the playoffs every single year. So it definitely comes as a surprise. I'd never expected that type of stat, especially when you talk about like Doug Peterson and you think back to some of those times for the Philadelphia Eagles that were not necessarily that great and the Rams were not able to get the W. It's definitely an interesting stat, and it is definitely, like you said, no shot at Sean McVay because Sean McVay has great success against other teams and great success in different moments in the NFL, and he's definitely, I would say he's one of the best head coaches in the NFL. It's just, when you think about how teams are built, the LA Rams have had their moments where they've struggled with necessarily building out a roster to the same degree as like the Philadelphia Eagles and the success and the Baltimore Ravens and the success that they've had through free agency and through the draft. Sometimes whether it's money or whether it's this infatuation with older players for the LA Rams, they haven't necessarily always been able to build that roster that can necessarily compete to the same degree, but a guy like Sean McVay always gives them a shot, always gives them an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think Quinyon Mitchell is going to shadow one of the receivers? I know it's tough because there are 2 really, really good receivers for the Rams, but would this be an opportunity where you put Quinyon, say, on Devontae Adams, and then you put bracket coverage against Nakua, or vice versa, Quinyon on Nakua, and then bracket coverage Devontae? Again, Adoree Jackson, you mentioned it earlier, he had a decent game last week, but again, look at the receiver position for the Chiefs. This week you're going up against a really good receiving tandem. Next week you're going up against potentially a trio if Chris Godwin comes back. We're about to hit this stretch of good receivers that the Eagles are going to be facing, and you need somebody like Adoree Jackson to step up. So what do you think if you were Vic Fangio, what would you do, and what do you think Vic Fangio is going to do?
If I was Vic Fangio, I would probably play it semi-similar to how he played the Dallas game because you knew there was 2 viable wide receivers. I just think that he had Quinyon Mitchell shadowing the wrong wide receiver in Dallas because CeeDee Lamb feasted at any opportunity he was given, seeing Adoree Jackson across from him. But this one, like you said, becomes a lot more difficult because who do you really choose to cover and who do you have faith in Adoree Jackson being able to cover? Devontae Adams is a route running technician. He's one of the best route runners in football. And we know that Adoree Jackson can open up quicker. It seems like his football IQ isn't necessarily all there. So do you want, and that can lead to, Devontae Adams making a double move that ends up putting him wide open, similar to the play we saw with Thornton last week, although there was 2 people colliding, but to that degree where somebody's open by countless yards ahead.
By the way, I'm glad you brought that up, and I apologize for cutting you off. Reed Blankenship hasn't been good.
Yep.
He, both of the Tyquan Thornton, him being open, the one that was overthrown by Mahomes and then the other that was a touchdown, that was on Reed Blankenship. Now, I know Dory ran into him on the other one, but the touchdown, Reed seems to be out of position a lot. And I know, and again, this isn't me talking bad about him because I'm not a fan. Everybody knows I'm not a fan of him. I think he's a third safety. I don't think he's a starting safety. That's why I would not give him a contract, which the Eagles are probably going to give him a contract. But I think Makuba and potentially DeJean could be the future at the safety position unless they draft a safety next year or within the next couple of years. But we need to talk more about Reed Blankenship and him being out of position. He wasn't on the Kelsey drop that turned into Makuba interception. He was out of position on that too. He got beat. He let Kelsey get in front of him. That easily could have changed that game around if Kelsey catches that ball, and that was on Reed Blankenship. He needs to get better, and more people need to watch it. More people need to start talking about it because I haven't heard his name talked about enough over the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about a contract, like a big contract year, and where there's an opportunity, like I think Eagles Eric has it at like $10 million per year based on he's got this really great contract projection tool that he sometimes throws some things out. And it was pretty accurate with some of the free agent signings that happened this past offseason around the NFL. And I think he had it at close to $10 million a year, which, I mean, that doesn't sound like a substantial number, but for the safety position, that's a pretty decent amount of money to be throwing at a safety who is, like we've talked about in the past, he's like a heat-seeking missile. He's not that necessarily that great in coverage. There's only certain things that he brings. Like he seems like more of a, Andrew Makuba to me looks like a more complete package safety by a mile than Reed Blankenship. So it'll be really interesting to see, how he does. We saw him wait it out with some contract extensions last year, and it didn't really play to his favor, although I think he was prepared to let a lot of those guys go, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to afford the market that was going to become for Milton Williams and for Josh Sweat. So it definitely will be interesting to see what he does there. But back to the point at hand of Adoree Jackson, like what do you do with Kenyon Mitchell and Adoree Jackson? I mean, I think the reality of it with Adoree Jackson is he's going to have to be thrown out there, and you got to see what you have in him. And I know that in week one, it looked like not that great, and it looked like there's this major need at CB2. And then week two against the far inferior wide receiving core, he looked like a very viable CB2. This is a week where I think you really get an idea. If you put him out there and he looks like he did against CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, there's a major need. There's a major issue. Depending on how the offense runs and who he ends up against, if he's up against Puka Nacua and he's up against Devontae Adams a lot and he shuts them down, well, maybe the critics can be silenced a bit and we can quiet down about the need for CB2, and maybe you just needed some time to adjust. But I mean, we saw him in the preseason, didn't look good. We saw him week one, didn't look good. And then we saw him in week two and he actually looked okay, but that offense as a whole did look pretty stagnant for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens here. But I just don't know, like from a Vic Fangio perspective, what he'll do. He doesn't seem to be the type that necessarily likes to full-on shadow. And especially when there's two viable options, picking the right option to shadow is always a very tough thing to do. But I mean, we've seen Adoree Jackson get mossed this year. We've seen him get beat with pure speed. We've seen him get beat by route runners. I don't know who I would trust across from him, because even if you put Tutu Atwell out on the field, Tutu Atwell's got sub 4.4 speed. And if he gets lined up against Adoree Jackson, Tutu Atwell could have his biggest play of the whole season in week 3 up against the Philadelphia Eagles because of Adoree Jackson. We've seen him beat by all different types of receivers. I just don't know who I would trust him to go up against. And I'll be really interested to see what Fangio does and see if Fangio gives him the leash that it appears he's getting. But also, I mean, he did get pulled a little bit against the Dallas Cowboys too. So how much of a leash and how much patience he has for Adoree Jackson, it'll be really interesting after last week to see what we get.
Well, we know Fangio doesn't have a filter, and he has already talked about Adoree Jackson and, saying, if he didn't make it with the Titans and the Giants, like, what was the chances that he's really that good? But not in so many words he said that. Yeah, and how he does have draft capital. So if the CB2 does struggle over the next couple of weeks, depending on where certain teams are in their season, if they're 0-4, 1-3, 1-4, 5, whatever, if there's a good corner on the team, that's just being wasted. Maybe Howie can pry him away from that team. I don't know the Dolphins don't really have any good corners, so it wouldn't be from the Dolphins, but the Panthers, J.C. Horn, who knows? I think he just got a big contract though, so just somebody of that ilk if Howie's able to make a move. Let's jump over to the Rams defense, and the Rams sacked Jalen Hurts. Was it 7 times in the divisional round matchup? Obviously led by Jared Verse, and we know he did all that talking heading into that game, and he, credit to him, he lived up to the talking. He walked the walk after talking the talk. But, the Eagles were just able to run right through this Rams defense. And their rushing defense still isn't that great. So it wouldn't shock me if the Eagles try to rely on the run game again. But that this Rams defense is priority number 1, 2, and 3 is not allow Saquon to beat them for big runs. He had 4 rushes over 60 yards against just the Rams last year alone in 2 games, with over 450 yards rushing combined in both games and over 500 yards in total offense in both games.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see in this game how that goes, because they played the Texans, who have not really looked that great so far in the early going, and have had their question marks at running back. And then they played the Titans, and they gave up over 100 rushing yards to both of those teams, who are led by Nick Chubb and Tony. Nick Chubb, who was shoved into this situation because of Joe Mixon injury, and then Tony Pollard, who's just riding out there, feels like he's just riding out this contract, and they're going to give him every opportunity to try and keep that job in Tennessee. I mean, if you can give up over 100 rushing yards to those two, it just feels like another one of those games where Saquon Barkley should be able to go for one of his more historic, larger Russian nights. But I mean, I think the biggest question mark then flips to the passing side of this offense, because teams have been able to stack the box and almost take Saquon Barkley completely out of games and not even make him, like, I mean, he quietly had the week that he had the past 2 weeks. He's quietly had nearly 100 yards or right at 100 yards. So he's still a weapon with very little support to open up the field for him to get more. But we saw in that Rams game, when you open up the field, when you make teams not stack the box against you, Saquon Barkley can have massive nights, because this offensive line has looked every bit the best offensive line in football, which we know that they are. But the issue is you can only hold up so much when the teams are stacking the box against you, when there's no real passing offense. You can look like this stud offensive line when you don't have to pass block as much. You're rush blocking more, but it makes it a lot more challenging when the box is stacked and Saquon Barkley's not able to find the gaps and the holes that he needs. So I think that this game, I think that it can be a big Saquon Barkley game. It should be a big Saquon Barkley game. This Los Angeles Rams defense is kind of middle of the pack rushing wise, but they are one of the top passing defenses. But they will be without Ahkello Witherspoon this week, because he went on the injured reserve right after their game this past week. So I think that opens up an advantage for the Philadelphia Eagles to kind of for Kevin Petula to gain some confidence in trying to throw the football. This is a good passing defense, but this is a good passing defense that is now down one of their starting cornerbacks, and you have very good, very viable receiving options in Jahan Dotson, who had that big play week 1, A.J. Brown, who hasn't been great this year yet, but we know what A.J. Brown can be when you give him the opportunity. And same with Devontae Smith. It feels like this is something that they can definitely take advantage of. And hopefully Dallas Goedert's back, because we saw Dallas Goedert was a big piece of that offense in week 1 before missing week 2. So it'll be really interesting to see how things go here. I mean, they rank number 1 in points allowed and number 4 in yards allowed. So this defense is not giving up a lot of yardage or not giving up a lot of points. But they're really making, I mean, the teams that they played haven't been great, but they made those teams work very hard for the yards and the points that they did get. But now they got the Philadelphia Eagles. Now they got Jalen Hurts. Now, can they get the win that they could not get in the playoffs last season down a guy like Witherspoon? And you spoke about Verse. Verse doesn't have a sack yet this year. So it feels like this is one of those games where Jared Verse is really going to want to go out and get that first sack. And then, of course, they have Byron Young along the interior that has 3 sacks on the season. He's already having a really good season. It's going to be really fun to watch, because I kind of feel like this could be a defensive battle, but the Philadelphia Eagles run defense has not been all that great so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this run defense if they're able to make some stops, because Kyron Williams is a good running back, and Blake Corum is showing that he can be a short yardage guy, and he can be a guy that can get some yardage as well on the rushing side of the ball. But yeah, it'll be really, I think it could be a defensive battle at the end of this.
Well, talking about the run defense real quick, they didn't have Jalen Carter week 1, and it was pretty much Patrick Mahomes week 2, and Matt Stafford's not running all over the Eagles. If Matt Stafford runs all over the Eagles, we have a big problem. So I think that the Eagles will be okay in the run game. And A.J. Brown, he's been a good soldier over the first 2 weeks. We could see A.J. Brown breakout party because he's going up against his son in Emmanuel Forbes. We know what he did to Emmanuel Forbes when Forbes was with Washington. He owned him. So Again, AJ Brown has played the good soldier over the first couple of weeks. He's eventually gonna, if everybody his caliber breaks at one point in time if they're not getting targeted. And I mean, and winning can only take you so far, but I do think the Eagles are going to try to get him involved. You mentioned now their secondary is beat up. This could be potentially be a game. I'm looking forward to the Jared Verse versus Jordan Mailata matchup. We saw it twice last year. They both got the best of each other, but it was a stalemate most of the time. That's a battle. That's a grown man battle. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. Brandon Fisk should be playing. He's questionable, but Braden Fisk, but I'm pretty sure he's going to play. Kobe Turner's also very good on that defensive line. It's going to be a fun matchup, and this is a potential playoff preview. Two teams that are going to be vying for the number one seed in the NFC. So this is a huge early season matchup. The fact this is kind of going off, the fact that this is a 1:00 game, but Dallas versus Chicago is a 4:00 America's game of the week is a bunch of BS. Now, I will say this. I'm happy it's 1:00. I love 1:00 games. And I think 5 of the Eagles' next 6 games are 1:00, with the only one not being 1:00, the Thursday nighter against the Giants. And then I'll be in Minnesota the week after that. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Bought my tickets for that already. But so again, the 1:00 games, no issue. I'd much rather get the game over with so I can enjoy the 4:00 and the late games. But yeah, this is going to be this is going to be the best game of the day. It should be the best game of the day in the NFL. Two teams that are equal, if we think about it. So just the fact that we get to see it this early in the season, both of the teams relatively healthy, that's what you ask for. And Rams fans can't complain, oh, it's snowing. Granted, we played them in LA in climate-controlled stadium, and Saquon ran for over 250. So I don't want to hear that mess. That if it didn't snow in the if it didn't snow in the divisional matchup, we would have won. The snow actually helped the Rams, if I'm being honest. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it usually snow kind of brings like a bit of a benefit to being able to stop the run, because you're gonna face the run a lot because you don't want to throw the football, and the weather and how much harder it becomes to catch a football, and so many different elements that come with the weather. So I mean, I agree with you. It shouldn't be an excuse. It was an excuse, and now I mean, to me, based on the two offenses that we saw from the Eagles last year versus the Eagles offense that we have been seeing this year, it could be dramatically different and huge game changer on the outcome of this game. Because can Saquon Barkley find the holes he needs? Can he make the big plays, those big chunk plays that he was making against this Rams defense last season? If we can't open things up with this offense, it's going to be a good game. I agree with you. I guess in theory, Micah, when they made the schedule and set this all up, Micah Parsons was a Cowboy. They expected the Dallas Cowboys to be better. It feels like the NFL really wants Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and the Chicago Bears to be good and to be relevant. So they're in some of those big time slots throughout this season. Yeah, I mean, but I'm sure we can get into that too, but he's definitely not looking good. And of course, Ben Johnson, it's early on in the season. It's going to take him some time to get adjusted, but it definitely is probably one of the best games of the week this week. One of the best games of the year. The Eagles and the Rams always seem to put on a show, despite the record. What Sean McVay's record against the Eagles over the last 6 or 7 games seems to point to this team not being good. The Rams always play so hard. They always give the Eagles a run for their money, and I don't know how the Eagles are going to be able to perform and step up, especially offensively, when they're being given a run for their money. They've been winning some ugly games, but eventually, are you going to be able to constantly be the one that comes out on top? I'm never giving an ugly win back. We already established that. But is this offense, is this team able to lean in on this defense enough to continue to get these ugly wins until this offense figures it out? I think this offense really needs to figure it out. Kevin Petula, if he's hiding any aspect of that playbook, he's got to open it up this week. It's time to see what you have from a pass. Enough of these condensed packages, enough of these 2 tight ends being out there, these almost jumbo sets that he's been that he puts out there to basically essentially give away that they're going to run the football. Enough of this pistol and under center being essentially runs You've got to get creative in your playbook, and this is a game that I think that you can get creative with. As good as this Rams defense has been, statistically and based on the opponents they've played, they're really middle of the pack, and this should be one matchup that the Philadelphia Eagles can absolutely take advantage of. Will the offense be able to take advantage? I'm not so worried about the defense, but the defense is not going to be able to hold up like this for 17 games of a season. It just doesn't happen with almost any defense in the NFL that they can hold up to the degree that they have been holding up for 17 games in an NFL season. So, Kevin Petula, please change something. Adjust. The answers in the pressers have indicated to me he doesn't see a reason to adjust. But if he's listening to some of the outside noise and watching the tape, there's reason to adjust.
Yeah, hopefully he does adjust. The one thing you mentioned earlier was Dallas Goedert being back. I think he is going to play. That'll be key because he's an all-around tight end, unlike Calcaterra and Kylan Granson. The one thing that I liked that the Eagles did towards the end of the game was put Fred Johnson as the tight end and as the 6th lineman to help with the blocking, and I think that helped down the stretch. Now, you shouldn't have to rely on the 6th offensive lineman, but having that in your back pocket, being able to get Fred Johnson back, one for like a 6th or 7th round pick, and then 6th and 7th, I think, whatever it was, and then utilizing him out there to help, because you realize that the shortcomings of Calcaterra and Granson in the blocking game. That was smart to do that.
But how bad is that? How bad is it that you have to resort to the 6th offensive lineman because your backup and your 3rd string tight end are that bad at blocking?
But let's think about it though. How many teams have multiple tight ends that can actually do that? Like it's very rare.
It's true.
True. Yeah, and with the amount of money that the Eagles put into this offense, now I'm not saying a blocking tight end is going to cost that much, but the amount of the resources that the Eagles have put into this offense, there's going to be a weak spot on the offense, and that's the weak spot. We talk about the offensive line where right guard, quote unquote, is the weak spot, but Tyler Steen played really well last week. He's actually been playing really well at right guard. So hopefully with the continued progression, hopefully they get better, but getting Dallas Goedert back is going to help the running game and should help the passing game in terms of maybe utilizing the middle of the field. We know the Eagles don't really do that. Don't know if that's because of Jalen's height and he can't see over the offensive line or whatever it may be, but maybe they can do that with Dallas Goedert this week.
Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. And this one is specifically for new customers who can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus over $200 off of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PINPULL. That's code PINPULL to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bet expires 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
The Hilton sale is on. For 10 days only, you can save up to 20% on stays this fall and beyond. Don't wait. The sale ends September 29th. Book your stay and save at Hilton.com. Terms apply. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, yeah, you saw it week 1 that Dallas Goedert, I think, ended up with the most receptions on the team. So he's definitely a key. And when you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, should that be a frequent occurrence? Probably not. But, it is important that he be a part of the offense, that he be out there, and what he's able to do, like you said, right in the middle of the field, in an area of the field that we don't tend to work through a lot. Using A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert there is definitely a recipe for success. We just haven't seen it with Kevin Petula. And like you said, last year, we didn't even see it that much. But we know A.J. Brown on a slant. We know Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field. They can get the ball to them, and they can make a lot more happen with the play after the fact. So I'm so interested to see what Petula does this week. I feel like, I say it because it's early on. I understand there's lots of people talking about, well, remember 2023. I get it. That was so painful to go through Brian Johnson calling plays for 17 weeks of an NFL season. And it didn't look like the offense just looked completely stagnant, and it didn't look like he was adjusting at all. Hopefully, Kevin Petula, knowing he wants to put his own mark on this offense. He doesn't want it to be, the Kellen Moore offense or, the offensive pass for the Eagles. But if that's what was working, then it's got to be something that you got to look in at the tape from last year and the tape at this year and figure out, well, what's not working? And obviously there's some things about this offense that are dead giveaways to what they're going to do. And I think that that's one of the big things. There can be success with this offense and how Kevin Petula's calling things, but not when it's a dead giveaway to the defense of what is going to happen. And, this is a smart, resilient LA Rams team. And I would say that this is one that they're going to hop onto those tendencies right away. And we probably are going to find out very early on if Petula is shifting those tendencies and changing the things that are becoming tendencies the defenses are picking up on. But there's no reason this Eagles passing offense continues to look the way that it has looked over the past 2 weeks with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, the offensive line that they have. It is the same identical offense to last year that found so much success. And that's what makes you just want to shake Kevin Petula and be like, just take some things from last year and do it and use it, because what he's doing this year is just showing a tendency, not actually created any opportunity for this offense.
Well, if couch coaches can figure out what the Eagles are doing, $1 million offense or defensive coordinators realize what the Eagles offense is doing. So before we get to our unheralded player of the week and our game prediction, let's get to our offensive player, defensive player, and keys to the game. You can go first, Connor.
This is going to be an odd one, but I'm going with George Holani from the Seattle Seahawks on a absolutely terrible Caleb Johnson kickoff return.
I didn't say unheralded player yet, but we can do that.
Sorry,
it's fine. Go ahead.
I heard unheralded. Yeah, so I'm going with George Holani. Sorry, and just because on that play with Caleb Johnson that has lost him a job as a kickoff returner, he went in there, smart, savvy play, got in there, grabbed the touchdown, and Mike Tomlin and the Steelers look well on their way to another 9-8 season this season. This time behind the arm of a new quarterback, another quarterback coming into town. So I'm going George Holani. Sorry, I messed up prediction portion, but we'll get back to it.
It's all good. I'm going Jake Browning for the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, turf toe. He's going to be out he's on IR. He's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. And Browning came in. He threw 3 interceptions, but he finished with 241 yards, passing 2 touchdowns, and then the game-winning touchdown, QB sneak rushing for 1 yard with 18 seconds left to help the Bengals stay undefeated and prove to 2-0. And it's going to be a big couple of weeks who would have thought that the game between Cincinnati and Minnesota, which is featuring 2 of the best receivers in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, is going to be Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. I wish the Eagles game wasn't at the same time because I really want to watch Carson Wentz play. I'm still a Carson fan to an extent. And I'm really hoping that JJ McCarthy isn't healthy in 4 or 5 weeks when I go to Minnesota. I want to see Carson Wentz against the Eagles so bad. I want to see us sack him 9 times again. But I'm pretty sure McCarthy will be back. All right. A little out of order, but it's fine. Now go with your offensive player, defensive player, and keys to the game.
Okay, so my offensive player is gonna be AJ Brown. I'm sure me and you are probably both. I think you did it last week, so I think it's gonna become a thing until he gets involved. We are gonna wish upon that he gets involved, and I mean the key to the game is for offensively is Kevin Petula and his game planning and his play calling. It ragged on it enough earlier, but that's one of the biggest key to this game is that he changes things up, that that he gets rid of these tendencies. He shows that they're not tendencies. He shows that is not the giveaways for this offense. And he opens up the game for Saquon Barkley. He opens up the passing game, shows us that there's a passing game somewhere in that playbook, and an effective one at that. So I'm going AJ Brown, the offensive player to watch, and Kevin Petula's play calling as a to the game and a big thing that needs to change to have this turn around. For the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be make Matthew Stafford uncomfortable. That's going to be my key to the game. You know that Matthew Stafford can be very effective if there's no pressure on him, but we know that if you can get pressure on him, he can make mistakes. If his guys aren't getting open quick enough, he can make mistakes. He's a very, very good, very accurate, very smart quarterback, but he is susceptible just as anybody is. And knowing that the Blankenship's not playing all that well, what we really have in Adoree Jackson at the CB2 position and going up against this offense, you have to get the pressure. You have to make Matthew Stafford's night difficult so that he makes the mistakes that some of his other key players probably won't make because of how effective some of those offensive weapons are. So it's getting pressure on him, and that takes me to my offensive player of the game. I'm going to give it to Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith's kind of had like a bit of a quieter start to the year. You're seeing some flashes, but this is a guy that we kind of expect to be that 10 sack, 12 sack guy. He was kind of on that trajectory with Josh Sweat across from him. And me and you both have talked about Josh Sweat as he thought, he earned himself that contract, but we always felt that he was not that great of an edge rusher. He wasn't, he was kind of a byproduct of the defensive line that he was playing with. Nolan Smith, big contract coming up. He's got to prove it. He's got to show that he's going to be able to get after the quarterback and be the future for this, for the defensive line. He's up at 0 sacks right now, so he's definitely got to turn that around. And I think that Jalen Carter is going to start to wake up. Obviously, last week was like his week 1. That was like his first real football game. And I think once Jalen Carter wakes up, he starts eating some of those double teams. It's going to open up some advantages for guys like Zadarius Smith, who we saw showing out a bit last week, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Moro Jomo, other guys. The rest of this defensive line always benefits when Jalen Carter's at his peak. Give him the benefit of the doubt for, week 1 he didn't play. Week 2 was like his week 1. This is week 2. It's time to start seeing Jalen. And you heard, like you said, Vic Fangio, he doesn't mince words, and he kind of said he wants to see more. He thinks that he can be in better shape and he can be a much better player than he is, which is a scary thought.
Yeah, they're good ones. One thing about Nolan Smith is I haven't seen somebody take on pulling guards, tackles, tight ends, whatever, better than him in a long time. He stones them and he's able to blow up plays that are they're trying to open up coming that way when they pull the guards and tackles. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm going Kevin Patullo. I'm changing things up. It is up to Kevin Patullo to get this passing game going. Give Jalen easy passes, give AJ Brown easy catches. Utilize AJ Brown's strengths. When he catches the ball in the middle of the field or with a slant, he's one of the toughest guys to bring down. Let him use his side speed and tenacity and allow him to do some damage. There's no reason for him to have 6 catches, 35 yards in 2 games. No, he should go off for over 100 yards against Emmanuel Forbes. You better take advantage of that. We know that the Rams are going to, roll safeties that way because Forbes isn't that good, but the Eagles, but we also know the Rams are going to want to try to stop the run. So they can't do both. So let's get AJ Brown involved. So it's going to be up to Kevin Patullo to find a rhythm calling plays and get his quarterback into a rhythm. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with the secondary, Quinion and Adoree/Cooper. Because of the weapons that they have on the outside, even at tight end, running back, they can all catch the football. And Matt Stafford, like you mentioned, he has no qualms with spreading that ball around. He'll throw no-look passes. He's going to get everybody involved. He'll find the weak point and so will Sean McVay, find the weak point on the offense, and that's going to be whoever is going up against Adoree Jackson. We'll see how long he lasts. I would like to see Ja'Cory and Bennett get a chance, and we'll see if that happens, but Jackson needs to figure it out, and we'll see if the secondary can hold up. They're not going to be able to stop Nacua. Nacua had a couple big plays in the divisional playoff. When he caught that one down the sideline, I thought the game was over when he caught it over Slay. But the Eagles were able to withstand and hold on to the win. So I'm going the secondary for the Eagles, and I'm going Kevin Patullo on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles. Prediction time, Connor. You are 1-1 because you picked the Chiefs to win last week. I am 2-0 because I picked the Eagles. I was close. I said 24-21. It was 2017. I was close. So what is your prediction for the game against the Rams?
As much as we've talked about the offense and turning some things around, I do stick by my earlier thought that this is going to be a defensive battle. I don't necessarily I think Kevin Patullo has a chance to figure some things up. I don't think overnight he's going to turn this into an offense. It's going to pump out 40 points against the Los Angeles Rams. So I got this as a 24-21 victory for the Eagles.
Okay. I have it 24-20 Eagles. Jalen will throw his first touchdown pass of the season, by the way. I know there's a lot of people talking about, I can't believe he doesn't have a touchdown pass. They do realize back in 2003, when the Eagles went 12-4 and went to the NFC Championship game, Donovan McNabb didn't throw his first touchdown pass until week 5. And that was to John Ritchie, the fullback. So they're winning games. Like he'll get a passing touchdown. And let's be honest, if there's a quarterback that I've ever seen that didn't care about stats and all he cared about was winning, that is Jalen Hurts. So it doesn't matter how it gets done, as long as it gets done, and that's what Jalen worries about.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been banging that drum for almost all of the majority of last season, and now we've had to bang it through the off season and the start of this season. When did winning stop mattering in the NFL? All Sirianni cares about, which through his first 70 games, he's up there with John Madden from a win percentage perspective through their first 70 games as a head coach. And then you look at Jalen Hurts, we're 18-1 in our last 19 games, and it doesn't matter. Some of those games were 20-point games. Some of them were 40-point games. Some of them were ugly. Some of them were things of absolute beauty. But it doesn't really matter how we win. Winning in the NFL is not easy. Hence the reason there's only 59 Super Bowl champions. It's very difficult, and not even 59 different ones. Obviously, many less because of some dynasties and some teams that ruled the roost for specific decades. So winning is the almighty. Winning cures all, and hopefully the winning ways continue because the Eagles really need a cure to get out of the media's attention. It feels like we just cannot get out of the way, but the media loves to get Philadelphia Eagles fans riled up. But at the end of the day, we're taking W's, we're taking wins, and I will run with it, ugly or pretty. I don't even care.
Also, Jalen Hurts in games, and the Eagles in games that Jalen Hurts has started and finished have won 16 consecutive games. So all he does is win no matter what, and that's all that matters. they don't take that Super Bowl ring away if you win ugly, because you just keep racking up dubs and we won't complain. I mean, well, it's Philadelphia. They'll still find a way to complain. Thank you all for tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour. As always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LGHorrell54. And follow the Eagles Pinpool Network at Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. We will be back next week with our review of this game, and hopefully it'll be another Victory Green Hour. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour.
Fly, Eagles, fly.